Hello, dear DSE candidates. Welcome back to my Grammar for Success channel. I am Koresh Babu, a retired lecturer in English from Hyderabad. In today's video, I am going to teach you a very important poem, The Road Not Taken, written by Robert Frost. And this poem is very important from your DSE examination point of view. Therefore, I request all of you to pay a very good attention to this poem and keep listening to this without skipping it in the middle. I also request all of you to consider subscribing to my channel and also sharing this video with all your friends who are going to take the DSE examination very shortly. Thank you so much. Now let's get into the video. The Road Not Taken, written by Robert Frost. Okay. Before I teach you this poem, I would like to talk to you a few things about the poet Robert Frost and also about the poem The Road Not Taken. You know very well that this Robert Frost is one of the most celebrated American poets, one of the most renowned American poets. He was born in 1874 in the USA. Specifically speaking, he was born in San Francisco, that is in California state, right? And when this Robert Frost was just 10, his father, Prescott Frost, died. So afterwards, he moved to Massachusetts along with his mother in order to stay with his grandfather. He completed successfully his high school education in Lawrence. Later on, he joined Dartmouth College, but he discontinued that. Later on, he joined Harvard University, and that also he discontinued. In this way, he could not complete a degree from any one of these colleges. And later on, he started writing poetry, and in his lifetime, he wrote 4 books of poems. Number 1, A Boy's Will, that is the first title of the book, published in 1912, and the second book, that is North of Boston, is the title of the second book, and that was published in 1913. And Mountain Interval, that is the third book of poems, that was published in 1916. And later on, the last book of poems, that is New Hampshire, was published in 1924. So this is all about his poetic career, and talking about his poetry, and he, in almost all his poetry, you can find the realistic portrayal. Portrayal means the realistic description of a rural life. Okay, the realistic portrayal of rural life, that you can find in most of his poems. And in his poetry, you can also find 2 things. What are those 2 things? Number 1, the use of colloquial language. Colloquial language means lingua franca. Lingua franca means the common language, the local language of the people. So Americans speak some local language, just as we speak in Telangana our local language, in Andhra Pradesh their local language. Local language is different from standard language. Okay, so here that colloquial language he employed. He employed in his poetry, and he also employed only traditional verse forms. What are the traditional verse forms? Means sonnet, ballad, elegy, ode, etc. These are called traditional verse forms. So he, in his poetry, he employed traditional verse forms and colloquial language. These 2 things he employed in his poetry, and in almost all his poetry, you can find the realistic description of rural life, that you can find. This is all about his poetry. Okay, and here one very important thing you have to learn is that he received 4 times Pulitzer Prize. Okay, Pulitzer Prize. And this Pulitzer Prize is generally given to those people in the USA that make outstanding contribution in the literary field. In the literary field, whoever makes an outstanding contribution will be given this Pulitzer Prize. So that is really a very prestigious award in the USA, just as this Sahitya Academy Award in our India. So whoever makes an outstanding contribution in the literary field will be given that Sahitya Academy Award. So in the same way, in the USA, this Pulitzer Prize will be given to those people who make outstanding contribution in the literary field. So here he got this Pulitzer Prize not once. Generally, to get this prize once is very difficult, but here he got this prize for 4 times, and that was really great. This tells us that he is a very great poet, a talented poet, okay, a renowned poet of the USA. So apart from other awards, he received 4 times Pulitzer prizes. And this is about Robert Frost. And now I would like to talk to you about this poem. This poem written in blank verse. Okay, this is an important point for your examination. Blank verse. Blank verse means what? It's a kind of poetry in which no rhyme scheme is followed, first point. And the second point is but meter is used. What kind of meter? Generally iambic pentameter. Okay, iambic pentameter is used in this blank verse. And as against this, free verse is also there. Free verse means what? So free verse means no rhyme scheme. Okay, no rhyme scheme and no meter. So this is called what you call free verse. See the difference between this blank verse and free verse. Free verse, blank verse means it has no rhyme, but it has meter. Okay, in free verse, no rhyme scheme and no meter. These two things will not be there. So here, this road not taken. This poem was written in blank verse, and this poem has been taken from his third book of poems, that is Mountain Interval. Okay, Mountain Interval. Okay, it is the most anthologized poem. Anthologized poem means it is prescribed for study for various kinds of stuff, for high school students, for intermediate students, for degree students, and so on. So that's why it is the most anthologized poem. This poem exemplifies the ability of Robert Frost. What is that ability? To transform a simple or an everyday movement or incident or situation into a profound meditation on choice and its consequences. So this is about this poem, The Road Not Taken. And this poem is all about choice, okay, and its consequences. Whenever you make a choice, you have to reap its consequences. There are in our life, we come across two kinds of choices: good choices, bad choices. If you make the good choice, you will be happy and you will reap only the good repercussions or consequences. If you make a bad choice, then what happens? You will have to reap only bad consequences, bad repercussions only. So therefore, when a chance comes before you, you must think of that chance. If it is good, accept it. If it is bad chance, please omit that or skip it. So that is what you have to do. So therefore, this poem is all about choice and its consequence. Okay, so in this way I can talk to you about the poet and the poem, and if I keep on telling you all these things orally, you may not keep all of them in your mind. You are very likely to forget all of them. That's why I am going to give you all these important points on these slides. Please, if you can just look at these slides now, you can remember all these things that I have taught you orally. Okay, right. And now let's move on to learn those things again in writing. First one is there. Robert Frost is one of the most celebrated American poets. Most celebrated means most renowned. Okay, renowned, suprasiddhamainatvanti American poets. You know very well. And here the next point is he was born in San Francisco, USA in 1874. This point is very important. Okay, keep this point in your mind. Next, his father Prescott Frost died when he was just 10. So that was really a pathetic thing, a sad and sorrowful thing about Robert Frost, because he lost his father just when he was 10 years of age. Okay, thereafter he moved to Massachusetts with his mother in order to stay with his grandfather. That point also you know very well. And now let's go to the next one. He successfully completed his high school education in Lawrence. Lawrence is the name of a place, name of a town. In that town he completed successfully his high school education, right? And now you go to the next point. Later he attended Dartmouth College, and in that college he joined that college and discontinued that education, and later on he joined Harvard University. He discontinued that education. So in that way therefore he could not complete a degree. His degree education was incomplete, so he could not complete a degree at either institution. And now let's move on to learn other things. During his lifetime he published 4 books of poetry. Keep this point in your mind, it's a very important point. Okay, and A Boy's Will in 1913. The title of the book is A Boy's Will. This book was published in 1913. And North of Boston, this book was published in 1914. And Mountain Interval in 1916. And next New Hampshire in 1924. These are the 4 important books of poems. They are books of poems written by Robert Frost in his lifetime. Okay, and now the first 2 books of poems. These 2 books of poems, what happened? Established his reputation as a major poet. Remember this point. In these 2 books only, he could prove his worth. He could prove his ability. He could prove that he was a wonderful poet or a great poet. He proved his greatness through these 2 books, and that's why he established his reputation as a major poet. Okay, over his lifetime, that means again during his lifetime, Frost received 4 Pulitzer Prizes. Okay, they are prestigious prizes, you know very well. Okay, for poetry in 1924, 1931, 1937, 1943. So these years are also mentioned for your understanding sake, for your use. Apart from numerous accolades, accolades is somewhat a different word. Generally, you make use of the word awards, rewards. You are well acquainted with those words, but you are not, I think, well acquainted with this word accolades. Accolades means again awards. That is only the meaning, right? Now let's go to learn other things. His works are often noted for the realistic portrayal of rural life. Already I have dealt with this point. In almost all his poetry, you can find the realistic portrayal. Portrayal means description of rural life, that is there. And next, his poetry is characterized by its use of colloquial language. In his poetry, you can come across only the colloquial language. The common language spoken by the people is called colloquial language. Colloquial means that is lingua franca. So, and you can also find in his poetry traditional verse forms. Traditional verse forms. What are the traditional verse forms? Poetic forms means sonnet, ode, ballad, elegy. These are the traditional verse forms. Okay, traditional. Okay, and here the road not taken, written in blank verse. Already I have told you about this blank verse. Blank verse is a kind of poetry in which no rhyme scheme is followed, but the meter is scrupulously followed. Especially the meter will be iambic pentameter. Okay, is one of his most anthologized poems. One of his most anthologized poems means prescribed for study for the students. Prescribed for study for the students of high school, for the students of intermediate, for the students of degree and all that. So it is the most anthologized poems. Okay, anthology means book of poems. Anthologized means prescribed for study. That is the meaning, right? And here the poem has been taken from his 3rd book of poems, Mountain Interval. And our present poem, The Road Not Taken, has been taken from his 3rd book, that is Mountain Interval. This is a very important point from your examination point of view, right? And here it exemplifies, the poem exemplifies his ability. What does this poem do? It exemplifies, it demonstrates, it exhibits what? His ability to transform a simple and everyday movement into a profound meditation. You know, a simple thing is glorified or made bigger and bigger. A profound meditation on choice. In this poem, you find only the central idea of choice and its consequence. Choice. If you take a good choice, you enjoy its good results or good consequences. If you take a bad choice, you will suffer from that bad choice, and you will have to you have to face only the bad consequences thereof. So that is all about this poem. Okay, we are also going to learn about other things of the poem. The poem is all about choices in life. So you will come across so many choices in your life. So choosing or making the better choices is really a tough job for you. Okay, but choosing the better choices is really a very tough job. When many choices come and stand before you, you will be unable to choose the best of the best of those choices. So that will be very tough for you. Okay, yes, that is why. So the life is full of choices, and when you choose the choices, what happens? You have to reap the or face the consequences thereof. If you choose a good choice, you will reap or you will face good consequences. If you choose bad choice, you will have to face bad consequences. Consequences means results, repercussions, whatever it is. And then comes, the poem has 4 stanzas. This is also a very important point from your examination point of view. 4 stanzas, each stanza consisting of 5 lines. So 5 into 4, 20 lines are there in this poem, right? And the poem follows an AAB rhyme scheme. So what kind of rhyme scheme is followed in this poem means AAB. That is the rhyme scheme followed in this in each stanza, making it movingly lyrical and symbolically rich. And when that rhyme scheme is used in that, what happens? It looks very lyrical. It looks very rich. Okay, that is there. Right. You go to the last point here. The tone of the poem is reflective and contemplative. This is also a very, very important one. In the examination, they will ask you about this. What is the mood of the poem? What is the tone of the poem? The road not taken. So 4 choices are given. That is there. You have to choose the right choice. Right option. 4 options are given. You have to choose the right option. See, the mood of the poem or the tone of the poem is reflective. Reflective means thoughtful. Robert Frost was thoughtful about the experience he had faced in the past. గతములో తనకు జరిగిన ఆ అనుభవాన్ని గురించి తలపోస్తూ ఉన్నాడు. He was thoughtful. He was reflective. He was contemplative. Okay, he was like. So this is all about, this is the introduction to this poem, introduction to the poet. Okay, now the introduction is over. Now we are going to learn the poem. Okay, please listen to that poem very carefully, and then only you can answer the questions if at all they are given on that poem. Okay, right. The road not taken. Okay, let us take the meaning of this poem. This is the first stanza. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. Okay, here, this is the first line. And here, first of all, you try to understand this yellow wood. He says, the poet says, wood. He is using the word wood. Wood means what? Wood has got 2 meanings. Wood means timber. Okay, timber. Timber means what? Kalapa, karra. And wood also means a small forest. What is that? A small forest. Okay. ఒక చిట్టడివి, a small forest. And it has got another word also. Woods is also there. Wood means a small forest. Woods is also a small forest. I'll give you the picture of the forest. This is that forest. Okay, so here in a yellow wood. So this wood has turned yellow. Why? Because that is the season of fall. Okay, that is fall. Fall means what? Autumn season. What is that? Autumn season. So autumn is the British word and fall is the American word. So we have 2 kinds of English. Okay, American English, British English. So here fall is American English word and autumn is a British English word. Okay, so according to our constitution, we follow only the British English. Therefore, we say autumn. Autumn means what? That's the 3rd season of the year. According to the English calendar, we have 4 seasons. Okay, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So these are the 4 seasons. Each season lasts for 3 months. Okay, 4 3s are 12. It is like that. So here during this autumn, what happens now? The leaves turn yellow and they start falling. And that's why in Telugu also we say Akuralu Kalamu. ఆకు రాల్చు కాలం. That's called fall. So in the USA, what happens during this season, almost all the trees turn yellow and they start shedding their leaves. So that's why the wood, the small forest in which you find all these trees, what happens? They turn yellow. And that's why the poet Robert Frost says, is calling this wood yellow wood. Yellow wood means wood that has turned yellow. పసుపు పచ్చగా మారినటువంటి ఆ చిట్టడవి. That is what the poet tells us here. So one day what happened, this poet, okay, this poet Robert Frost happens to take a walk in the forest, in that small forest. It's a small forest means there will be no wild animals at all. It's not a wild forest, but it is a small forest. Therefore, in the small forests, there will be no wild animals. Therefore, you can freely walk through the forest. That facility is there, that advantage is there. So here one day what happened, this Robert Frost happens to walk through a yellow wood. So all of a sudden, while he was walking, all of a sudden the road, the two roads diverged. That means the single road got diverted into this one and this one. The single road has become diverged. Diverged means what? Divided. Okay, it has divided into two roads. So far the single road, but now it has become a double road, or the road has been divided. The road has been diverged. It has been parted or separated. So now there are two roads in front of him. The poet has stood here now. Okay, he has reached this place where the road is divided into two. రోడ్డు రెండుగా చీలినటువంటి ఆ ప్రదేశమునకు కవి చేరుకున్నాడు. Now the problem arises before him. What is that problem? Let us see that. And sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. This sentence is continuing into this sentence. This is called enjambment. Okay, you know that very well. So here, that is a literary device. And sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. That means, here he could not travel. That means he could not walk on both of those roads. On both of the roads, he could not walk on both of those roads because he was one single traveler. Being one single traveler, how can you walk on both the roads? It's not possible for anybody. That too, at a time. At a time, you cannot walk on this road and on this road. It is not possible. That's why the poet feels sorry. The poet feels regretful, and he says, I could not travel both and be one traveler. Because I am one traveler, I could not walk on these two roads. Okay, and long I stood means, therefore the poet stood here for a long time, pondering over which road to take up. He stood here pondering over. Okay, he was looking at these two roads, pondering over which road to take up, which road to walk on, so which road to follow. So he was in a dilemma, whether to take up this road or this road. He was in a dilemma. So when you are in such circumstances, what happens? You also feel very much confused. You also feel some kind of dilemma as to which road to take, whether to take up this road or this road. You'll be in a confusion. So in the same way, here this poet Robert Frost also was in confusion. He was in a dilemma, and therefore he stood there for a long I stood. Long means for a long time. I stood means the poet stood there pondering over which road to take up. That's the meaning of this. And looked down one as far as I could. So he looked down one. That means, he watched one road. He watched, looked down means watched one of the roads. There are two roads. He looked, he watched one of the roads as far as I could. As far as he could. He watched one of the roads as far as he could. Oh, the road went and went and went and went. And how long did it go? Here you see that to where it bent in the undergrowth. So until it took a curve towards the undergrowth. Undergrowth means, in other words, shrubs. Okay, you can also say bushes, podalu, something like that. And you can also call them brushwood. Brushwood means podalu, tuppalu, something like that. In Telugu you can say. But here he watched and watched as far as he could until that road took a curve. Bent means curve. Adi ala veltu కరువు తీసుకునే వరకు, until it took a curve towards the undergrowth, towards the bushes, ఆ పొదల వైపుకు దారి తీసేటంత ఆ కరువు వరకు అలానే చూశాడు for a long time. That is the meaning of this first stanza. You go to the meaning of the second stanza. And look at the meaning of this second stanza very quickly. Then took the other as just as fair. So here, then took the other. Next, he started watching. First he watched this one, this okay. And now he started watching the second road. Okay. That when he watched the second road, how was that second road? As just fair. That means it was as clean and fair. Just means fair. Just, it is as just as fair means it is both clean and fair. This road is like this road is also like this. As just as fair means it is clean just like the first one, it is fair just like the first one. That's why this says as just as fair means as clean and fair as the first one. మొదటి రోడ్డు ఎలాగైతే ఉన్నదో సెకండ్ రోడ్ కూడా అలాగే ఉంది, ఫెయిర్గా, క్లీన్గా, సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. అండ్ హ్యావింగ్ పర్హాప్స్ ద బెటర్ క్లెయిమ్. అండ్ he thinks that his decision to take up the second road would be a better choice for him. ఓహో, ఇది బాగుంది కదా, దానిలాగానే ఉంది. If I take up this second road, that would be my better choice. Better claim means better choice. అది తీసుకుంటే నా బెటర్ చాయిస్ అయి ఉంటుంది, సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. అండ్ బికాస్ ఇట్ వాస్ గ్రాసీ అండ్ వాంటెడ్ వేర్, బికాస్ దిస్ ఈజ్ గ్రాసీ. గ్రాసీ మీన్స్ వాట్? గ్రాసీ మీన్స్ ఫుల్ ఆఫ్ గ్రాస్, కవర్డ్ విత్ గ్రాస్. ఆ రోడ్ అంతా గ్రాస్తో కప్పబడి ఉంది. It is covered with grass and wanted wear and lacked footprints. That means nobody walked on that. Nobody has trodden that path. Nobody has trodden that road. ఆ మార్గాన్ని ఎవరు ఎక్కువగా, దట్ మీన్స్ ఇట్ ఈస్ లెస్ ఆర్ ట్రావెల్డ్, ఎక్కువ నడిచినట్టుగా లేదు. దో యాజ్ ఫర్ దట్ ద పాసింగ్ దేర్, దట్ మీన్స్ ఆల్దో, యాజ్ ఫర్ దట్ ద పాసింగ్, దట్ మీన్స్ బట్ ఫర్ దట్, ఎక్సెప్ట్ ఫర్ దీస్ టూ, దట్ ఇస్ ద మీనింగ్. ఈ రెండు విషయాలు తప్పితే, ఎక్సెప్ట్ ఫర్ దీస్ టూ, వాట్ ఆర్ దోస్ టూ? ఇట్ వాస్ గ్రాసీ and it was less traveled. ఈ రెండు విషయాలు మినహాయిస్తే, that had over them really about the same. Both of these roads have been trodden equally trodden, equally worn out, equally traveled. Except for these two roads are how? Are equally trodden or equally traveled. So this is equally traveled, this is equal travel. Only extra two things are here. What are they? These roads, that second one is covered with grass and it is less traveled. Of course, the first one is traveled, the second one is traveled, but it is less traveled. That is there. So this is the meaning of this. Okay, now the poet has decided to take up the second road because the second road is covered with grass and it is less traveled, and he thinks his decision, his choice would be a better claim. So this is the meaning of the second stanza. You go to the third stanza. Now you see the meaning of the third stanza. And both that morning, and both means both of the roads, or both the roads. Okay, both roads you should not say. You have to say both the roads. Grammatically correct. Both roads is not correct. Both the roads are both of the roads. So any one of them you can say. And both means both the roads are both of the roads that morning equally lay. That means both the roads that morning are looking fresh and untrodden. That is the meaning. Fresh means untrodden. ఈ రెండు రోడ్లు కూడాను ఆ ఉదయకాల సమయమున ఫ్రెష్గా ఉన్నాయి. అండ్ అన్ట్రాడెన్. అర్లీ ఇన్ ద మార్నింగ్ ఎవరు వస్తారు అక్కడికి? That is early in the morning. So far nobody has come over there, and that's why these two roads are fresh and untrodden. That's the point you have to understand. And in leaves no step had trodden black. That means no steps. That means these leaves were not disturbed. So here are these leaves. These are all the leaves. The leaves that fell last night are not disturbed. రాత్రి పడినటువంటి రాలిన ఆకులు ఏవి కూడా డిస్టర్బ్ కాదు. ఇన్ లీవ్స్ నో స్టెప్ హ్యాడ్ ట్రాడెన్ బ్లాక్. దట్ మీన్స్ ద లీవ్స్ దట్ ఫెల్ లాస్ట్ నైట్ ఆర్ నాట్ డిస్టర్బ్డ్, ఆర్ నాట్ ట్రాడెన్, నాట్ ట్రావెల్డ్ బై. తొక్కబడలేదు, దాని మీదకి ఎవరు నడవబడలేదు, వాటి మీద ఎవరి అడుగులు లేవు. That's why these two roads are equally fresh. That's that. So, I kept the first for another day. Now the poet is saying that he has chosen the second road for now, and the first one he has reserved it for some other day. Okay, he has reserved this first road for some other day. Now he has chosen the second road for his travel. Okay, right. At knowing how way leads on to way. And he knows very well. The poet says, I know how a way leads on to another. You know very well, if you are going along the way, that way goes and goes and goes, and that road links up with another road. And that road goes and goes and goes, that links up with another road. So in this way, one road invariably leads to another road. So that's why he is now doubting. The poet is expressing his doubt whether he would return to this part in order to walk on the first road. ఈ మొదటి రోడ్డు మీద నడవడానికి మళ్ళీ నేను ఇక్కడికి వస్తానో రానోనని నాకు డౌట్గా ఉంది అంటున్నాడు. He is expressing his doubt, because if he goes along this road, what happens? It might link up with another road, or with that another road. He might get lost somewhere. He may not come back to this spot again. So that's why the poet is expressing his doubt and says that whether he can come back to that spot, whether he can return to that spot in order to walk on this first road. ఈ మొదటి రోడ్డు పై నడవడానికి తిరిగి మళ్ళీ ఇక్కడికి వస్తానో రానోనని నాకు సందేహముగా ఉంది అంటున్నాడు రాబర్ట్ ఫ్రాస్ట్. That is the meaning of that. And we go to the next stanza. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages. This again an enjambment. An enjambment means one line continuing into another line, one line flowing into another line. This is called an enjambment. It's a literary device. You know that very well. I'm going to explain all these things after some time. Okay, I shall be telling this with a sigh. And the poet says he will keep telling this. This means this experience. Okay, this experience. Ee anubhavanni. The poet says he keeps on telling this experience, or he keeps on talking about this experience with a sigh, with a sense of, with a sigh means with a sense of sadness. With a sense of sadness. The poet says that he will keep on telling about this experience with a sense of sadness. When somewhere ages and ages sense. This is an exaggeration. This is a hyperbole. Somewhere ages and ages sense means yes. What's that? And in the times to come, in the years to come, in the days to come, రానున్న సంవత్సరాలలో, రానున్న కాలములో ఈ విషయాన్ని నేను అందరికీ మరి బాధతో ఈ అనుభవం గురించి చెబుతూనే ఉంటాను. I keep on telling about this experience with a feeling of sadness in the days to come, in the years to come, in the time to come. Okay, in the times to come. So that is what he tells us in this rule. And what does he tell them? So here it is again given. So this is repeated. This is called repetition. The first stanza, first line is repeated here. Okay, two roads diverged in a wood, and I. What does he tell his friends? What does he tell others? Yes, in the years to come. One day I started walking in a wood, and all of a sudden I came across a spot where the road is divided into two. Okay, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And I took the one road that was less traveled by. The one road that was less trodden by. Then what happened? And that has made all the difference. And that decision, that choice has made all the difference. Means it has significantly impacted me. That has significantly Impacted me means showed its effect on me. So the poet says, that has made all the difference, he says. But what kind of difference is that? Whether it is a positive difference or a negative difference. And I think, because when he said these words with a sense of sadness, I definitely think it is a negative difference only. From the context of this stanza, we can say, we can think that that difference is a negative difference, not the positive one, because he says, with a sigh, with a sense of sadness, means definitely this decision must have impacted him negatively. So that is the meaning of this poem. And now whatever I have taught you orally, all those points I'm going to give you once again very quickly, line by line meaning of this poem. And if you have missed any point here, you can cover that point in the line by line meaning of the poem. Okay, now let's move on to learn that. Line by line meaning of the road not taken. Okay, very quickly I give you the line by line meaning of this poem. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, you know very well. So one day the poet finds himself at a place in a forest where the road divided into two during fall or during autumn. That was the fall season. So during that fall season, the poet happens to take a walk in the small forest, and while he was walking along the road, all of a sudden the road becomes diverged. The road becomes divided into two. So that is the meaning, right? And here, and sorry I could not travel both. So here the poet feels regretful. Sorry means regretful that he could not take both the roads, because being one traveler, because he was one traveler. Being one traveler means because he was one traveler, he could not take both the roads, right? Nobody can take both the roads. Okay, sorry, rendu roadla మీద నడవగలుగుతామా? Is it a possible thing? No man on the earth can walk on the two roads at a time, right? So that is what he says. And be one traveler, and be one traveler means already this meaning is covered in this. Long I stood means, let us take the meaning of this. He stands there for a long time, pondering over. Why did he stand there for a long time? Only he was pondering over which road to take up. There are two roads in front of me. Which road to take up? Whether this one or that one? He was pondering over that. So for that purpose, he has stood there long. Long means for a long time. Okay, and looked down one as far as I could. That means he looked down means the meaning I have already told you. He watched one of the roads. One means one of the roads. As far as I could means as far as he could. తాను ఎంత దూరము చూడగలిగితే అంత దూరము ఒకనొక అందులో ఆ రెండు రోడ్లు ఒక రోడ్ను చూశాడు. That is the first road. Okay, and you go to the meaning of the fifth line, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Undergrowth means shrubs, bushes, brushwood, whatever it is. So here the meaning is given like that. What is that? Until it took a curve. Bent means curve, వంపు. Until it took a curve towards the brushwood. ఆ పొదల్లోనికి ఆ రోడ్డు వంక, ఆ రోడ్డు తిరిగి ఉన్నంత వరకు, ఆ రోడ్ అలా పోతే అలా తిరిగినంత వరకు, సంథింగ్ లైక్ దట్. సో నౌ యు సీ ద మీనింగ్ ఆఫ్ ద నెక్స్ట్ స్టాంజా. Then took the other as just as fair. So then took the other means then he started watching the other road. That means the second road. That is the meaning. He took the other road which was equally fair and clean. This was fair and just means clean. Okay, it was fair and clean. So he looked at the second road and having perhaps the better claim. And he thinks that his decision to take the other road might be a better choice. Better claim means better choice. And here, because it was grassy, grassy means covered with grass, and wanted where means lacked footprints. Kali adugulu levu dani meeda. That means that was less traveled, in other words. Because it was covered with grass and lacked footprints means less traveled. You can also say less traveled. Okay, that is the meaning. And you go to the next one. Though as for that the passing there, that means though, that means although. Okay, except for these two things, ఈ రెండు విషయాలు తప్పితే, అవి మినహాయిస్తే, what is that? Had all them really about the same. You see the meaning of the next line. Both the roads were almost identical. ఆ రెండు విషయాలు తప్పితే both the roads were identical. The same means identical. అవి రెండు ఒకటే లాగున్నాయి. ఆ రెండు విషయాలు తప్పిస్తే రెండు ఒకటే లాగున్నాయి. And for both were equally trodden and less traveled. They were both the roads were equally traveled, equally trodden. Both the roads were identical, but for these two things. Now you go to the meaning of the third stanza. And both that morning equally lay. That means that morning, Avudayana, both means both the roads, looked fresh and untrodden. Equally lay means they were fresh and untrodden. Yes, untrodden means not traveled by anybody. In leaves, no step had trodden black. That means, what is that? No one has walked on the leaves since they fell. That means they are fresh. The roads are fresh. They are fair, they are fresh, untrodden. Oh, I kept the first for another day. That means he chose the second one and kept the first one reserved for some other day. He chose the second one, okay, point is clear, and kept the first one reserved for some other day. First దాన్ని ఎప్పుడన్నా నడుద్దాంలే అనుకొని వదిలేశాడు for some other day. At knowing how way leads on to way. How way leads on to way. That means, the poet knows that one road leads invariably to another. Always. One road, invariably means always. One road always leads to another road. ఒక రోడ్డు తప్పకుండా ఎల్లప్పుడూ ఇంకొక మార్గానికి దారి తీస్తుంది. ఇట్లా పోతే ఇంకో దారి కలుస్తుంది, అటు నుంచి పోతే ఇంకో దారి కలుస్తుంది. దట్ ఈస్ దేర్, రైట్? ఓకే. అండ్ that point the poet knows pretty well. I doubted if I should ever come back, and here therefore he was not sure whether he would return to travel the other road. He was not sure whether he would return to that spot in order to walk the other road. You go to the meaning of the last stanza. So I shall be telling this with a sigh. That means he says he will keep on talking about this experience or incident with a sense of sadness. Somewhere ages and ages hence. That means in the times to come. In the times to come means far in the future. In the times to come means in the years to come also, you can say. In the days to come, రానున్న రోజుల్లో, రానున్న సంవత్సరాలలో, లేకుంటే భవిష్యత్తులో, షార్ట్లీ అండ్ స్వీట్లీ we can say భవిష్యత్తులో, far in the future, రానున్న సుదూర భవిష్యత్తులో, something like that. Okay, and you go to the meaning of the 18th line. Two roads diverged in a wood and I. So the same one repeated. He will remember the fork. Fork means divided roads are called a fork. So fork means this is the fork in the woods, in the forest, and his choice. Okay, and I took the one less traveled by. That means, he took the road that seemed less traveled. కొద్ది మంది నడిచినట్టుగా అగుపించిన ఆ దారిని అతడు టేకప్ చేశాడు. దట్ ఈస్ ద మీనింగ్. అండ్ దట్ హ్యాస్ మేడ్ ఆల్ ద డిఫరెన్స్. ఆల్ ద డిఫరెన్స్ మీన్స్ వాట్? అండ్ దిస్ చాయిస్, దిస్ డిసిషన్ హ్యాస్ సిగ్నిఫికెంట్లీ ఇంపాక్టెడ్ హిజ్ లైఫ్. అది ఆయన జీవితాన్ని బహుగా ప్రభావితం చేసింది. It impacted his life. So this is the meaning of this poem very briefly. And now let's move on to learn very briefly about the literary devices employed in this poem. Right. Literary devices used in the poem, The Road Not Taken. Okay, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost employs several literary devices. Several literary devices are employed in this poem. And let us pay some attention towards key ones. Key ones means important ones. The first one is what? Metaphor. Metaphor means a direct comparison is called a metaphor. So here what is that? The entire poem is an extended metaphor for the choices of life. For the choices of life, it's an extended metaphor. What is, if it is turned into a simile, how can it be? Life is like a box of choices. Life is like a box of choices. There are full of choices. It is only your job to choose them. It is only your job to make choose the best ones or the suitable ones for you, the right ones. So that is only you have to do. It is a metaphor for the choices of life. Okay, so it's a direct metaphor. The roads mentioned in this poem represent different choices. Two roads are there means two different choices. Okay, A and B. These are the two choices. It is representing these two choices, and one might take in life. When there are two choices in front of you, you have to choose either this one or that one. If you choose the right one, your life will be happy and you will reap right consequences, good consequences. If you choose the bad option or bad choice, you will have to suffer a lot and you will have to face bad consequences. So that is the net result of choosing a choice, okay, or an option. Choice means nothing but an option, right? Symbolism is there. Symbolism, okay, you know very well the symbolism. The two roads mentioned in the poem symbolize the two life's choices that one faces in life. So the two roads stand for what? Choices in the life. The two roads, okay, mentioned in this poem symbolize two choices that are in front of you. And imagery is there. Okay, imagery means visualization. Frost uses vivid imagery to describe the setting and the roads. Okay, Frost uses vivid imagery, beautiful imagery. So how? Yellow wood. Yellow wood means immediately you remember the wood, the forest that has turned yellow. Okay, long I stood. Immediately you find the man waiting for a long time, standing there for a long time. You get this picture in your mind. Grassy means covered with grass. Immediately you get this picture on your mental screen, right? And next, leaves no step had trodden black. That means, immediately you understand, oh, the leaves are fresh. They are not traveled by. They are not trodden by people. So they are fresh. Okay, untrodden. Undisturbed leaves means the leaves are not disturbed, means they are fresh. Immediately you visualize that and the picture will flash on your mental screen. So this is all there. And one more example I think I have given you here. And looked down one as far as I could and watched. He watched one of the roads for a long time. Okay, as far as he could means as far as he could. So when this sentence is mentioned, immediately you visualize somebody standing there and watching the road as far as he could. So this is called visualization. This visualization is nothing but imagery. Okay, now you go to the next literary devices. Personification is there. Personification, how the roads are described as having characteristics that make them seem almost human. The roads are described as having human characteristics. How? Let us see that here. One example is given here. The road being grassy. The road is covered with grass. As if it is a living being, it is covered with grass and wanted where. So here, this road is in that way personified in the poem. And here, irony is. So here you can know very well. I doubted if I should ever come back. So here, the poet initially expressed his optimism. In this poem, whatever he expressed optimism. Optimism means hopefulness, but a better claim, saying better claim. Oh, this option is my better claim. This choice is my better claim. Like that he said. But at the end, he was expressing doubt. So expressing optimism first of all, and then later on expressing doubt. These two are said to be irony. ఆశ అంటూనే ఉన్నావు మళ్ళీ సందేహం అంటున్నావు, ఇది ఐరనీ కదా. So it's like that. So there is also irony in the speaker's final reflection. Though imagines that taking the less traveled road has made all the difference. Earlier he admits that the roads were about the same. So here in the poem it is mentioned that the second road is less traveled, and next he says the two roads are equally traveled. So this is ironic. Okay, now you go to other literary devices. Alliteration is there. Now, the repetition of a consonantal sound in a poetic line. Okay, how Frost uses alliteration to create rhythm and musicality, right? And here you see wanted where, wa, wa. Two consonantal sounds in two or more than two words. If they are repeated, that's called alliteration. So wanted where, in these two words you can wanted where, wa, wa. So something like that. And next, anaphora. Anaphora means what? The repetition of the word end word or phrase, if it is repeated regularly in the succeeding lines of the poem, that is called anaphora. So here in the second, third, fourth lines, and are there at the beginning of the poetic lines. So that is called anaphora, and that creates a sense of continuity or flow. And when you keep on saying and, it gives the impression that the flow or the sentence is still continuing. It is not over. నువ్వు చెప్తున్నది ఇంకా అయిపోలేదు, ఇంకా అది కంటిన్యూ అవుతుందని ఒక ధ్వని అందులో. సో అండ్ అనేది. So end is used like that. You look at the first stanza, you will find second, third, fourth lines. Okay, right. And going to the next one, parallelism. The structure of the poem's lines often mirrors each other, which emphasizes the similarity of the choices. Similarity of the choices. Choices samananga unnayani cheptundi. Similarity. The similarity is called parallelism. Okay. And here see, then took the other as just as fair. So then took the other as just. Rendu ela unnata? They are fair and clean. The first row is fair and clean. The second row is also fair and clean. So that is the parallelism, right? That is expressed in this line. Okay. And both that morning equally. In this line also, parallelism is expressed. How both the roads equally lay. That means both the roads are fresh and untrodden. This road is fresh and untrodden. This road is also fresh and untrodden. So in this way, two parallels. No, this is called parallelism. ఒకే సెంటెన్స్లో రెండు సమానంగా ఉన్నాయని చెప్పడాన్ని దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ parallelism. That kind of structure. Okay, now you go to the other literary devices. Hyperbole is there. Overstatement is called hyperbole. You know that very well. And ages and ages hence. Its exaggeration exaggerates the time span. Ages and ages. Yuga yugalu antunaru. Can you live for ages and ages? No. But it is an exaggeration. That means the poet only means to say in the times or years to come. రానున్నటువంటి కాలములో, రానున్న సంవత్సరాలలో. But here it is mentioned ages and ages. That means రానున్న యుగాలలో. How? Can you live for ages? No. So this is exaggeration. రానున్న యుగాలలో అంటే రానున్న కాలములో, రానున్న సంవత్సరాలలో. That is the meaning only you have to take. Therefore, this is said to be hyperbole. Achayokti, something like that in Telugu. And rhyme scheme, what is the rhyme scheme used here? The poem follows an AB, AB, AAB. This is a rhyme scheme, it follows, and creating a sense of order and harmony. So since this rhyme scheme is used in this poem, you can find some kind of order in the poem, harmony in the poem, beauty in the poem, music in the poem, right? And that is the rhyme scheme. You can find it in the stanzas. Tone is there. Already I have told you about this tone. The tone of the poem, the mood of the poem is reflective and what is that? Contemplative. The tone of the poem shifts from regretful. First of all, the poet regrets. From being regretful, it becomes reflective. So first of all, he was regretful. Later on, he became reflective, thoughtful. Second తీసుకున్నాను, అనవసరంగా కష్టపడ్డాను. ఫస్ట్ తీసుకుంటే బాగుండేదేమో. So he was thoughtful about the decision he has taken, about the option he has chosen. That is there. Then contemplative. The speaker looks back on his choice with a mixture of regret and acceptance. Regret, అయ్యో పొరపాటుగా సెకండ్ తీసుకున్నానే, ఫస్ట్ తీసుకున్నట్టే బాగుండేదేమో, సరేలే ఏం చేసేది అంటూ ఒప్పుకుంటూనే బాధపడుతున్నాం. సో రిగ్రెట్ ఈస్ దేర్ అండ్ యాక్సెప్టెన్స్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో దేర్ ఇన్ దట్ పోయం, రైట్? యూ గో టు లెర్న్ అదర్ లిటరీ డివైసెస్. Ambiguity is there. Ambiguity means confusion. There is a deliberate ambiguity in the poem. While the poet asserts that his choice has made all the difference, he does not specify whether the difference was positive or negative. What is the poet saying in this poem? That has made all the difference. That means that has impacted my life. He says only that, but whether that impact is positive or negative, that he is not telling, that he is not specifying in this poem. Okay, that's called ambiguity. And you go to the next one, repetition. So in that the two roads diverged in a wood and I. This is in the fourth stanza, third line. Okay, but here this is repeated from the first stanza. Okay, and that's why this is called. Here the poet repeats the first line for emphasis. This is the first line from the first stanza. Simile is there, a comparison between two unlike things. You know that very well. Then took the other as just as fair. As just means as fair and clean. He's comparing the two roads. This road is fair and clean. This road is also fair and clean. This is just like the other one. The second road is just like the first one. The first road is just like the second one. Something like that. He's comparing. That's why as just as fair, that is there. So here the second road is compared with the first one, saying that it is just as fair. Okay. And here as just as fair suggests equality. The first road is equally good. The second road is also equally good between the two choices. Okay. And next enjoyment is there. one line continuing into the next line. That's called enjambment. And here and look down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. This line is continuing into this line. This line is flowing into this line. This is called enjambment. And one more example is given. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. So this line. So in this way, these are the two examples for enjambment. With this video comes to an end. Thank you so much for watching this video. Right. Dear DSC candidates, thank you so much for watching this video. And if at all you have any problems in understanding this poem, please make a mention of that in the comment section. And with another beautiful video, I shall be back to you. Until then, bye. See you, all of you. Right.